Aim higher. Set your standards higher. Be better. I mean, you're aiming at a level of player that is more or less intermediate. I already did this comment, or I already made this comment earlier, that players under 2400 are intermediate. So if you aim higher, aim at becoming a better player. Basically, Gotham Chess is an advanced intermediate player. He is hoping to become a Grandmaster for a reason, because then he will be a real player. I would only hope to do the same thing myself, as my rating is even lower and weaker. I'm not as good as Gotham Chess yet. I am a hop, skip, and a jump above beginner. Our goal is that everyone should have an opportunity to become a better player. That is far more important than any individual win for rating points, because honestly, when you are a certain strength, the rating points just come and go. If you have a bad day, your rating returns to your true strength on the very next day. So there's no reason, absolutely no reason for anyone to be fretting over rating points or anyone getting help on any particular move when this is meant purely and entirely for training for actual real life events. Not sure how. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, grasshoppers.
This episode is brought to you by Indeed.
What in the world is going on here? Nothing is brought to you by Indeed, by the way. Just turning on some tunes to get this test started. I wanted to test a few things as we head into the final weeks before daylight savings time end. It's going to be about 2 weeks before we are actually back in sync with Europe. So I feel like several of the tournaments are on a somewhat hiatus, unfortunately. I apologize for that. But I'm just waiting because I am messed up in my sleep schedule. And I also wanted to cover a little bit of the chess news as it was happening. I couldn't believe the format of the American Cup. Every day it just kept on going. And it was a Carissa Yip's fault, really. Carissa Yip's fault because she kept hanging in there. And unfortunately, ultimately, at the end, she lost the title to what seems like perennial finisher. This is the second game of the Grand Cup final rematch. Now this tournament is out of control. It's like a billiards tournament over 10 days. So I just want to give you a little bit of a heads up on what it's like. It's basically there's a preliminary format which goes into a somewhat double elimination phase. And then you go into this double elimination phase, and Carissa Yip ended up on the loser side because of Alice Lee. And the funny part about being on the loser side because of Alice Lee, ironically, is that she's always ended up on the loser side because of Alice Lee, it feels like. Alice Lee is a fight to the death battling champion. Like if it was just a heads-up competition, if we had a match for the U.S. Championship, I think the shoe could be on the other foot as far as who would have more U.S. women's championships. Partly it's Carissa Yip's own fault. I don't mind roasting Carissa Yip just a little bit because she is one of my favorite players and I adore her play, her aggressive attitude, her fighting spirit, her lore. The Carissa Yip lore is priceless. There is nothing like it. But honestly, let's turn down the music just a little bit. Carissa Yip, unfortunately, is still playing a lot of, in my opinion, kids openings. She's not quite well-rounded enough. The latest kids opening to let her down in this tournament, amazingly enough, was, of all things, if you can believe it, something I consider far worse than the London, the advanced variation against the Caro-Kann. Personally, I feel like if you're not going to play chess, this is the way to do it. There are two variations that I find distasteful. The advanced variation against the French, if you look up the statistics, black scores about 51%, maybe, at worst, I think. In the advanced French, that is with E6 instead of C6. The advanced French, black scores really well. Black has a very clear objective. Black has been playing this since they were a beginner. In fact, every single beginner plays it against them, so you get to learn everything about the opening, honestly. And the same thing with the Caro-Kann. This is the earliest opening taught against the Caro-Kann, and it's almost like playing the Italian game, because that's the earliest opening that everyone is taught just after the Four Knights game, or perhaps even the Scotch opening, all of which Carissa Yip plays as part of her repertoire. She doesn't really play the grown-up openings yet, like D4, unfortunately, and C4, which I feel is the next level of proving that you can place both pieces and pawns and work them seamlessly together. She does not play the Ruy Lopez, which is the ultimate strategic weapon as far as outplaying opponents that don't know how to play chess. And if you're going to be misogynistic in any way out there, any of those bozos who don't believe that women play fighting serious chess, Carissa Yip is the antithesis to your argument. She really puts you down because she does everything that she's supposed to do to make chess exciting to watch. Except she's still very youthful, and I don't mind that at all either. I find that quality quite endearing. So therefore, when I look at her openings and she's not playing the Ruy Lopez or the Spanish game, at least once out of every 3 or 4 times, like, you have to really have the mix if you're going to get away with it. Even, let's just say, the Evans Gambit, she's playing the Two Knights defense, she's playing all of the romantic openings. She's certainly a romantic attacking player at heart. But honestly, there are some romantic variations, and there's a lot of lore to be explored in the Ruy Lopez. And the Berlin, of course, if she wants to go back to her Four Knights or Italian Four Knights or Italian game or something along those lines, she could do that against the Berlin. She could even play D3. It seems like everybody's even fooling around with D3 these days if you feel your opponent's going to play the Berlin. Fabiano Caruana is exploring the Berlin. But basically, the format of the American Cup was just absolutely ridiculous. Now, I must run to work, but I am testing this stream to see how it goes with non-copyright music services on Spotify. I am going to connect my Spotify somehow to both to my Discord and to Good Morning Chess Optics. How are you, bud? I apologize, but I'm trying to streamline my way through here this morning. But basically, if you really want to play against the Caro-Kann, you're going to have to either choose the next level youthful opening. This is perhaps the #1 way that kids begin against the Caro-Kann if they don't play the advanced variation. But if you are going to test a Caro-Kann player, then it's either the Panov Botvinnik, which is the opening that which is the variation that put the opening out of business in the early 1900s. Basically, Botvinnik pounded the Caro-Kann into submission for less than a decade, and he himself was the one who brought it back, with popularity rising as he played it against Mikhail Tal. He's the one who brought back the Caro-Kann, and Tal did not play the Panov Botvinnik against Botvinnik in that World Championship match, interestingly enough. Or you have to play the traditional knight to c3. Now, I know what everyone is thinking. Everyone is thinking that they do not have a remedy for the Nimzo Vich defense, basically, whether or not it's the Tartakower or whether or not it's the Bronstein-Larsen. So basically, we have to decide how we're going to answer either of these. According to our erstwhile engine, almost everything gives white a plus pawn up. Knight f3, bishop e3, basically almost over two-thirds of a pawn up for bishop c4 as well. So bishop c4, bishop e3, and knight f3. Basically, everything is relatively good for white here. And if they play e takes f6, then there is no substitute, unfortunately, for the old-fashioned c3. Just because if you want to place your bishop on d3, and there are a lot of ways for black to get into trouble here. Basically, after bishop to d3, we can get into trouble. Black castles. White plays queen c2. Black plays rook e8 check. And this line is quite good. There's a recent variation played by Brewington Hardaway against Fidel Corrales that literally pounded this opening into submission. h6 is the old move, which is no longer thought to be playable anymore. And Brewington Hardaway versus Fidel Corrales are both from our school, by the way, Columbia Grammar and Preparatory School. We have Fidel, Grandmaster Fidel, coaching on Fridays. And Brewington left us at the age of 16 as he made his Grandmaster title. I believe that he is homeschooling himself at this point because I don't know that he is playing. He's obviously not playing for any other school. He earned his Grandmaster title, departed Columbia Grammar, rather amicably for me anyway, and is pursuing a career in chess, which is what he wants to do. He wants to become the next great African-American Grandmaster after our good friend Maurice Ashley. And I'm crossing my fingers for him that he does everything that he needs to do. Meanwhile, there's nothing wrong with this opening. I will do a bit on the Brewington Hardaway game lately, but I must run to the train station. I want to thank everyone for being here. This has been our recap. Lois Lee, I think she has won the American Chess Cup 4 times, which is quite crazy, if you ask me. Quite crazy. The American Chess Cup, wow. She is unstoppable in one-on-one matches. If she gets to the Women's World Championship, and she can, and she will. I know she's trailing Carissa Yip in many of the other skills department. I don't know what those are. We'll do a little bit more in-depth coverage on that. But I do want to find out, WTF, American women's chess. What's going on anyway? Thank you all. Chess Optics, namaste. Thank you for being here. I will, and I'm going to check everything to make sure that the emote wall is working. Basically, I logged into Streamlabs using YouTube, and I am curious as to if everything works. So all of the emote walls, I'm going to see if the raid works, just because I need to. And I'm going to pick someone relatively harmless, because I can't find anyone at the moment. Let's see, is Chess Optics streaming? Alright, I'm just going to grab someone real quick that I know that I can raid, because I must get to the train station. Thank you, everyone. Cheers and ciao for being here. Thank you so much. Have a great day. This is just a recap, news, etc., so on. Cheers and ciao. Thank you. Have a great day.